Good day everyone, I am Mrs. Marilet Malabanan, your presenter from Laguna, Philippines. Reading is a primary tool for children's success. Reading is required for many developmental accomplishments. Most educators would agree that reading leads to a triumphant future of the children. But nowadays, reading becomes one of the problems globally. Here in our country, as written by Stanislaw, Philippine media has started to pay closer attention to the growing population of non-readers problem in our country. For the last 3 years, the reading comprehension skills of learners in our school was found to have decreased significantly based on the results of PIL-ERI for reading level. The researcher was motivated to conduct studies on how to address the problem for instructional materials are considered important in teaching and learning in all levels of education. By developing new instructional materials, new learning and techniques will be applied and mastery of the lesson will be achieved. For this reason, I decided to make a study on the teacher-made instructional materials in reading comprehension for grade 2 learners, its acceptability and effectiveness. For the statement of the problem, the study aimed to answer the following. Number 1, how do respondents assess the teacher-made instructional materials in reading comprehension in terms of objectives, presentation, content, application, evaluation, organization, language and style, navigation, and usefulness? Number 2, how do the group without treatment and the group with treatment perform in the two tests, pre-test and post-test? Number 3, is there any significant difference between the pre-test scores of the two groups? Number 4, is there any significant difference between the post-test scores of the two groups? And number 5, is there any significant difference between the pre-test and the post-test scores of the two groups? For the scope and limitation of the study, the focus of the study was the acceptability and effectiveness of the instructional materials in teaching reading for grade 2 learners. The respondents of the study were the 49 teachers from Mamatid Elementary School, North Marinig Elementary School, and South Bilwan Elementary School. A 25-item pretest and posttest was administered to grade 2 learners of Mamatid Elementary School. For the method of research, the study utilized the descriptive method of research. The characteristic of this method was used to determine the acceptability of the teacher-made instructional materials. And for the analysis of the effectiveness of the teacher-made instructional materials, the researcher used the combination of the quasi-experiment with the pretest and post-test method. The respondents of the study were the grade 2 English teachers from the three biggest schools from the City Schools Division of Cabuyao. And for the experiment, the researcher used the grade 2 learners of Mamatid Elementary School. Gathering procedure, the gathering of data actualized by securing permit first from the City Schools Division of Cabuyao. And then, the distribution of the instructional materials. The teacher use the design instructional materials by the researcher. And then afterwards, the distribution of questionnaires. The questionnaire was given to the respondents. It was personally distributed to ensure maximum retrieval. And then, after the float, the pretest was given to the learners, then the experiment proper, and then again, the post-test. And for the result of the study for problem number 1, how do respondents assess the teacher-made instructional materials in reading comprehension in terms of objectives, presentation, content, application, evaluation, organization, language and style, navigation, and usefulness? Findings: the assessment of teachers regarding the acceptability of the instructional materials in teaching reading comprehension in terms of objectives has a mean value of 4.36, usefulness 4.35, presentation 4.27, content 4.25, application 4.27, evaluation 4.37, Language and Style and Organization 4.26, and Navigation 4.18, which is verbally interpreted as acceptable. Conclusion, the instructional materials in reading comprehension for grade 2 learners as perceived by the grade 2 respondents is acceptable. And for the recommendation, extensive material evaluation may be done periodically every after 2 weeks with focus on the following aspects. Objectives should be clearer, specific, and more realistic. Materials should be presented more logically. Culture fit and arrangement of the lesson should be made from simple to complex. Materials also should be executable, responsive, thereby providing enough information about the stories in the selection. For problem number 2, how do the group without treatment and the group with treatment perform in the two tests, the pre-test and the post-test? Findings is that the mean value of learners without treatment is 7.78 with an MPS of 31.12, while a mean value of 8.17 and an MPS of 32.63 for the group with treatment with a verbal interpretation of law mastery for both groups. The post-test result shows that without treatment, mean value is 14.08 with an MPS of 56.36 and with an interpretation of average, while the group with treatment has a mean value of 17.64 and an MPS of 70.16 with a verbal interpretation of moving towards mastery. Conclusion, during the pretest, the group without treatment performed well as compared to the treated group, while on the post-test, the group with treatment performed remarkable as compared to the group without treatment. Therefore, the recommendation is pre-assessment should be conducted to determine if there are additional gaps in pupils' learning and for the teachers to design effective instruction tools that may answer pupils' needs. Teachers should continuously monitor the reading level of the pupils by developing or designing post-assessment that provides more calibrated results. For problem number 3, is there any significant difference between the pretest scores of the two groups? Findings regarding the difference in the pretest scores in reading comprehension, the computed t-test of 0.477 and a p-value of 0.636 indicates that the pretest between the two groups is not significant. The pretest of the two groups when tested is not significant, and for the recommendation, a teacher may set conducive classroom environment and motivate the pupils to create timing that can make them conscious on the needs for the pretest that may give best result. For problem number 4, is there any significant difference between the post-test scores of the two groups? With respect to the difference in the post-test scores in reading comprehension between the two groups, with and without treatment, the computed t-test of 4.11 and a p-value of 0.000 indicates that there is significant difference. The post-test of the two groups when tested is significant. And for the recommendation, team discussion should be adapted to facilitate a non-judgmental conversation about improving classroom practice that may result a plan for the future, which may include reteaching and better instructional materials. And lastly, for problem number 5, is there any significant difference between the pretest and the post-test scores of the two groups? Findings, the mean value of 8.1667 for pretest and 17.6389 for the post-test, 10.07 t-test value, and 0.000 p-value of the participants for the group without treatment, and mean value of 7.7778 for the pretest, and 14.0833 for the post-test, t-test value of 12.77, and a p-value of 0.000 for the treated group indicates that there is a significant difference between the scores of the two groups. Conclusion, the pre-test and post-test of the two groups is significant. The treated group performed well as compared to the group without treatment. And as for the recommendation, incentive may be given by the administration to encourage teachers to develop, design, improve, or enhance instructional materials that may directly impact the quality of teaching. That's all. Always remember, as mentioned by William Godwin, he that loves reading has everything within his reach. Thank you very much and God bless.